everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. In today's video, we are going to be talking all about how to make an SVG using Inkscape. Now, if you've never worked with Inkscape before, I have a whole playlist that's going to walk you through some really simple tasks, and I'll put that down below in the video's description and also up here in the corner. But Inkscape is not as scary as you think it is, and what I love about it is it's completely free. You can download it from inkscape.org. Now, I do use the version that is 0.92. It's a much older version, but I do find that that one for me works a little bit better than some of the newer ones. They get a little glitchy on me, and that could just be a me thing, but you'll still be able to follow along with this as everything's pretty similar in all the different versions. Now in this, we are going to learn how to do things like slicing, which in Inkscape is called difference. You're also going to learn how to do things like weld, which is union here in Inkscape. You're going to learn how to make your own little shapes. You're going to learn all sorts of really helpful skills to create an SVG. Now we're going to be making the same SVG that we made in a previous video that we did with CRICUT Design Space. Once you understand those skills in CRICUT Design Space, putting them into another program like Inkscape makes it a lot easier for you to understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. So I would highly recommend that you check out that video first and then come back to this one, because I think it's going to give you a lot of insight on how to create this design. Now, before we get started, be sure you're subscribed here. That way you don't miss out on any of the great crafty content we have coming. Without further ado, let's get started. So because we don't need fancy expensive software, we're going to use Inkscape, which is totally free to create the design. The first thing I'm going to do is put the design on the screen so you can see our goal and what we kind of want it to look like. This is the design that I want to replicate. Now, we did do this in Design Space, and the reason I want to replicate this here in Inkscape is so that you can get a better idea of how to work with Inkscape and using similar concepts to Design Space. So the first thing that I'm going to do is create my circle, which is this obvious line around our design. Now I'm going to grab the circle tool, which is on the left side, and it's this pink dot. And then I'm going to hold Control on my keyboard, and that's going to make our circle stay like an actual circle. I can make it a weird shape, but if you hold Control, it'll help keep it a better, like, actual round circle. Now, once I have my circle, I don't want to actually do any of like the slicing out of it yet, because we need to use this circle to add our text. But what I am going to do is I'm going to try to get this to be a similar size. It's not going to be exact, but just for visual sake, I'm going to try to get it to be like a similar size. I think that's pretty close. But this is just for visualization so that you get an idea. Now, the next thing that I need to do is I need to add my text to my circle. Now, this is on what's called a path. So our circle is called a path, and then we'll add text to it. So I'm going to open up my text box, and I'm going to put in the I'm not. And I'm going to use the same font that I used in Design Space, which for this part is Made Tommy. The font selection is in the same place that it is for Design Space, and we're going to be using Made Tommy. Now what I'm going to do is make this larger. I'm going to hold Shift to keep it in its scale. I can't ever think of the word scale. Now that is way too big. I made that way too big. I'm going to use this as just kind of a general like size option here. It's not going to be exact. And like I said, that's okay. It doesn't have to be. But what I want to do now is I'm going to select the font, and I'm going to select our circle. By doing so, it's going to tell Inkscape that we're using these two items. I want to go up to the word text at the top of my screen, and I'm going to click Put on Path. Because remember, my circle is a path, and so that's going to allow me to put this font into a curved section. Now, my font is obviously on the side, and if it bothers you, you can take this and rotate it around if you want to. You don't have to. It's really up to you. I tend to, but again, you do not have to do so. It's truly up to you and how you want to do it. Now, once I'm happy with my font, I think it looks pretty close to the other one. It doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to go up to the word path, and I'm just going to make my object a path. The reason I do that is so that I can move it off of my circle and it'll stay curved. The next thing we're going to do is do the bottom part, which is the word user friendly. So again, I'm going to open up a text box. I'm going to type in my word user friendly. And then I'm going to again choose that Made Tommy font for this. I'm just going to pick Made Tommy. And then again, I'm going to select the font. I'm going to select the circle, and I'm going to go and do Put on Path. Now, one thing you're going to notice is obviously it's in the wrong spot, and I did forget to make it bigger. So I'm going to go ahead up to Undo, and I'm going to make my font bigger. So I'm just going to grab it. And again, it doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little bit different. It's never going to be like perfectly the same, but I'm just going to try to get it a little bit closer to the same size. That's probably fine. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the text and the circle, go to Path and Put on Path. Now you'll notice that again, it's not in the right spot. I need it to actually be down here facing the other way. So I'm going to go up to the top and flip selected objects horizontally. And now you'll see that my text is in the right spot. It's on the bottom of my circle, which is exactly what I want. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to leave the font as is and show you that we can just take it off the circle and flip it. It's fine. What you'll do is select the text, go up to Path, Object to Path, and then you can take your font off. And then if you click on it, you'll see that you can rotate it with the little rotate options. So there's quite a few ways you can work with this. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is create the actual outline for my circle, but I'm also going to do one other thing to show you how to make a part that you need. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I am going to take my circle and I am going to duplicate it. Now, all you can do here, you can just go to Edit, you can click Copy, and then you can edit and paste it. Or you can use Control-C and Control-V because we actually need 3 of these. So I'm going to go ahead and use Control-C and Control-V on my keyboard. I'm going to change the color of the circle I have selected because this is the circle that we're going to slice out of the other circle to make this outline. So the first thing I need to do is figure out what size this circle is. And this is 10.09. So I'm going to make this circle a little bit smaller. I'm going to go like 9.9. and see if that looks like a good size. I think I want to go a little bit smaller. Let's try like 9.8. I want a decent outline because you can see this one's kind of thicker. So I'm just going to play with my numbers up here at the top. It's just like Design Space. You have this little width and height thing with the lock. So very similar to Design Space. I think I just want it to be a little bit thicker. I don't want to go too crazy. I don't want it super thick, but I want it a little thicker than what I have it. Okay, I think that looks like a decent thickness. So now what we want to do is we want to obviously make sure that our circles are centered. So for that, you're going to go up to, I believe it's Object, and you're going to see where it says Align and Distribute. I want you to click on that, and it's going to open up an alignment tool, like menu over here. Then draw a big square around both of the circles, and you're going to center it vertically and horizontally. And once you've done that, you can go to Path, and you're going to use the Difference option. And this is basically like using Slice in Design Space. Now we have that circle where we can put our words. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot this guy out of the way because we'll come back to him in a minute. But now what we can do is we can get our words onto our circle wherever we want them. Now, again, you can use the alignment tool for this if you want to. It's up to you. Do it how you want to do it. But I'm just kind of playing around with it, sticking them wherever looks good. But if I want to align them, all I have to do is, again, select all the items and then just open up that alignment tool again, and I can align them centered. And I was way off, so I'm glad I did that. That looks much better. They were looking a little funky. But one other thing I want to do, I don't really love quite how this is sized. I think it needs to be a little bit bigger. And I also need to curve it a little more. See how this is sitting up a lot higher than this? That's okay. It happens. You just kind of adjust your curve until you're happy. I think that looks a little bit better. So we're good. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and grab all my parts, and I'm just going to align them one more time to make sure they're where I want them to be. Now you can add all of your rest of your text, which this text is a lot easier, and I can't wait to show you because it's so simple. So let's add the antisocial word next. So again, all I'm going to do is just go antisocial, just type that in. I'm going to change that font again to the Made Tommy font. And I'm just going to Made Tommy. And then for this, I'm going to go ahead and put this on to my circle. Now again, I'm going to use shift so that it will keep its scale, but I'm going to change the scale on this just a little bit because I do want to change it just a smidge. I want it a little bit like taller than it is already. So I just like it a little taller, but you can kind of play with it, do what you want to do. It's up to you. And then once I've got that kind of where I want to move this over just a little bit, I'm going to add the knot. So this part's really fun and actually a lot easier than people think it is in the software for Inkscape. What we're going to do is we are going to take a square and I'm just going to make a square. Does not matter where I have it. But you see how I have these rounded corners? That's because I've played with this RX and RY design piece. So if they're both set to 0, oops, set that one to 0, what you'll see is you have a plain square. Okay, cool. But I want to change this and I want it to have some of those rounded corners. I can just up this up a bit until I'm happy with how round it is. So if like I want it a little bit round, I can do that. I think that's a good like shape. I think that one's kind of about where I want to go with it. And then from here, again, I can hold shift and kind of size it to be however big I want. So I kind of don't want it huge. So I'm just going to use this again as my sizing tool. If you don't have something to size it against, that's okay. You can play with it and size it however you want. It's not perfect. Like you don't have to do this exactly the same. So then I'm going to add some more text and I'm going to use the word not. And again, we're switching that font. This is the only thing I don't love is I have to constantly switch the font, but that's okay. So I'm going to switch that font to the not. I'm going to put the not, which I got to grab, over our word or over our blue block here. Hold shift and stretch this out so that it's to where I want it. I think that looks pretty good. Then grab the word not and grab the blue box. Go to path and choose difference. And now it's out of that box like how it is on the other one. I'm going to make this black just so it's like kind of blends so it looks the same. And then you can kind of move this around wherever you want. I am going to center everything, so don't worry if it's not fully centered. Like if you're screaming at my screen that it's not centered, I'm going to fix that. And now we're going to add the I'm just, which here we're just going to type in the words I'm just, and this one is not fully capitalized, just the I. And this font is a font called Boldwell, like we used in our Design Space tutorial. So I'm going to scroll up till I find Boldwell. And I'm going to expand this to make it larger. And again, I am going to use this as my little sizing guide, but that's just for me. You don't have to do this. I just kind of want them to be pretty similar. So that looks pretty similar to me. And then you just kind of line them up wherever you want them to be. Now, I don't want it to cut into the O in not, so I'm going to change the color really quick just so I can make sure that it's not going to cut into that and that I'm happy with kind of where it's sitting on like the anti-social section. I think maybe just a little bit down. Now, before I do anything else, I am going to select the entire design and I'm going to align it centered just so that everything's kind of sitting where I want it to be. Now, I don't love kind of where the just has moved, and I don't really necessarily care if it isn't fully centered, but I think the anti-social needs to be a little bit bigger. So I am going to expand this out a little bit, and that can help us with where it's cutting into. All right, I think that looks good. Now, one thing you're going to notice is that the I'm just has a little offset around it that cuts around some of these designs. An offset in the software here is so simple. So what you're going to do, you're going to follow these steps. You're going to go to path, and you're going to choose object to path. Go under object and you're going to ungroup it and you'll see that you have all these different letters. Go back to path and choose union. Now, once you've done that, you can go back to path and you are going to choose the linked offset option. And you'll see that you have a little teeny tiny diamond right here. Now, that offset's going to be the same color. I'm just going to change it down here at the bottom so that I can see what it looks like when I pull it out. And see that bright blue? That's what's going to cut out of our design. Now you can really play with it, adjust it however you want. There's no wrong way to do it. You make it whatever size you want it to be. I think that's a pretty decent size, and that's the size I'm going to go with. Now, in order to get the offset to cut out of antisocial and not, I need to grab antisocial and the word not, the little shape with that in there. Go to path and choose union. That's basically like welding in Design Space. Then what I have to do is grab the blue offset and the antisocial and not part, and then you're going to go to path, and you're going to go to difference, and that's going to slice it out of this design. So just like in design space, you can't slice or difference more than one section or more than one layer, and each line of text is a layer. I'm going to go ahead and zoom back out so you guys can see. Once we're zoomed back out, I'm going to go ahead and you can change the word just to black as well, because this is all going to be one piece. So you can go ahead and just change that. And are you starting to see it really coming together? Now, I promise that once you start doing this, it's going to go a lot faster and you're going to be a lot quicker at doing this. But remember now, we need to slice out some parts of our circle, which again, pretty simple. So let's start with the square around antisocial, because that one's really easy. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take a square and I'm going to draw it around the antisocial. Now, our square does have these rounded edges, which I don't want. So what I want to do is I'm going to select our square, double click on it, and I want to change this RY to be 0. That way it has the sharp corners. You want to always be using your selection arrow. And what I want to do is figure out where this little square is going to sit. So like in design space, I can take this layer and put it behind it. Right up here under path, text, and filters is this layers option. And this one right here will send that to the very back. And this is where I can manipulate it and move it around until I'm happy with where it's sitting. I can change how tall it is against the letters so that I can get an idea of what's going to be left behind from the circle. Now, with Inkscape, it's a little bit different because we're using difference and not slice. You need to put this square back on top of your design, or it's not going to do it correctly. So you can just use this layers option, put this back on top, and then when you select the circle and the square and you go to path and you choose difference, it's going to take away where the square was. This is just kind of a thing with the software that's a little bit different. Now, remember, we have this circle over here. We have it for a reason. We're going to turn this into our segmented arch. So if you remember when we did this in design space, we used the segmental arch to cut this part and this part so it was a little more rounded, not so straight. What we're going to do is use that difference option again. I'm just going to have you draw a big old square anywhere around your circle that's more than halfway. So I'm about, I would say, like 2/3 up. And you're going to select both of the items and you're going to go to path and you're going to go to difference. So now we've got our little segmental arch here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this again by just using Control C and Control V because I need 2 of them because I'm going to need one down here. Now again, what we're going to do is place this over this design wherever we want it to be. Doesn't matter, whatever you want, wherever you want it. But if you can't see it, again, I'm going to change the color. I'm going to move it to the back, and that's going to just help me see where this is going to slice out from our words. So I don't want it to do too much, but I want it to be a little bit. So I think like there's probably good. Now again, remember you have to move it to the front again. Select that red circle on the outside. You're going to go to path, and you're going to go to difference. Now, are you really starting to see this come together? I am, and I'm super excited. Now with this one, I do need to flip it, so I can use the flip option. Up here, I can flip it vertically. And again, I can use it around the base. But again, I'm going to change that color and send it to the back so I can get a better idea. And honestly, I'm really happy with where I have that sitting, so I'm good. Again, we need to move it to the front, and then you're going to select the circle and the semicircle, path, and difference. And now what I want to do is I'm going to change this also to black. And look at that. It's pretty similar. It's not exact. And I can move some things around before I really get like really set on where I want things. So I think the I'm not, I want to just get it a little more turned. That looks a little more better. Looks better. And you can adjust things a little bit before you're ready to go. But I honestly think that that looks almost identical and I'm pretty happy with it. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to save this so that if you wanted to sell this as an SVG, you could. I'm going to delete the original one that I have there, and then I want to size this down a little bit just so that it fits within this area. You can change the size of this area, which I do tend to do. So if you go to File and you go to Document Properties, you'll see that you have all these different page sizes and different sizes that you can use, or you can make your own. So I'm going to go in inches and I'm going to make this a 10 by 10 space. And that's just going to give us a nice square. Since this is a rounded design, we'll put it into a square shape. Then I make it fill up most of the design. Now, before we go anywhere else, I want you to select your entire design, go up to Object, and you're going to group it. And that's just going to allow us that when we put it into different design software, it's going to keep it all held together. And if they want to change anything, change any colors, if they want to make it multicolored, they can. If you were to union this, which would be like welding, it's not something that they would be able to change in any way. So by grouping it, you're giving them a lot of pieces and parts, but you're giving your customer more options to do some more designs. Now what you're going to do from here is go to File, and you're going to save it as, and you'll save it as an Inkscape SVG. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this Antisocial, and I spelled that way all wrong, social, and I'm going to call it Antisocial 1 just so I know which one I was doing, because I did play around with this design a lot and test it and things. So then I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to go over to Design Space, and we're going to load it in so you can see what it looks like. Once you're in Design Space, you can go to Upload, and you're going to just upload this like you would any other SVG. Now, if you're SVG designing, I do recommend always testing out your design before you put it up for sale. Remember, it's Antisocial 1, so we're going to select that, and now you have your design. Now, it's going to look a little fuzzy right here. Don't worry, it's not fuzzy when you actually put it into Design Space, but we're going to go ahead and upload this SVG. And it's going to put it into our Design Space. Now this, for whatever reason, is enormous. Sometimes it is, and that's just what happens. So I'm going to size it down, which sometimes can take a second. And then you'll see that it's going to be a little bit crazy, and it's going to give me this weird warning, but it's fine. Just ignore it. And then my positions, I'm just going to change to 1 and 1, and that way we'll find it. This happens sometimes with Design Space. It doesn't talk to SVGs very well, even though they're supposed to work with it. Now, remember I said that we grouped it so that when somebody comes in, they can change it up. And we have all these different pieces. So if somebody maybe wanted to like make the words a different color or make the circle a different color, they could do that, and they could do whatever they wanted to it so that they're not stuck with like the colors you chose. They can do however they want. So now you can see I've got all these different colors. So that's why I do recommend grouping your design instead of doing anything like fully unioning it. That way it gives your customer a little more option when they go to design it if they want to make it different colors or whatever they want. But if we don't want to do that, I'm going to just go ahead and attach it, and then I'll click Make so you can see what it looks like on the Make screen. I'm not going to save it. I already have it in here. And now when your person goes to cut it out, it's really easy for them to do so. They can also adjust where any of the words are, so they can like move the I'm not down a little bit if they want to. They can really kind of customize it a little bit more by using Group. Now, like I said, if you want to sell your designs, using Inkscape's definitely a free way to do it. It's easy once you start playing around with it. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. I am not like the foremost expert on Inkscape, but I am definitely learning a lot every single time I use it. So if you have a question and I don't know the answer, I'm going to guide you to where to find the answer because I want to learn it too. So please let me know what I can help you with down in the comments down below. If you have any questions about this or any of the other things we do here on our channel, please let me know as well. I would happily help you. Be sure you're subscribed here, that way you don't miss out on any of the other fun, crafty content we have coming. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.